10 years ago, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir came out, and I didn't know it existed, so I'm actually about to read a very popular book from 2015 for the first time, and I mean, we're gonna find out together. Is it good? It apparently had won awards before, and I've never heard of it, so yeah, let's read An Ember in the Ashes. But this book did manage to surprise me at a lot of different times. And honestly, Elias kind of sucks at these trials. This commanding person is absolutely disgusted and horrible and just so cruel. More than meets the eye to this story. Trust this resistance at all. Like, I think I have pretty high expectations for this book, which is one of the many reasons why I had it on my Christmas wish list. And so I did get this for Christmas 2024, and I am really excited to read it. So from my understanding, An Ember in the Ashes follows two characters, Laia and Elias. And Laia is basically, her and her family, they do not want to get into issues because anybody who kind of defies the empire is killed. And so when her brother is arrested for treason, she ends up becoming like a spy to infiltrate like the military academy, get some intel and stuff to kind of help with the rebellion. And there she meets Elias, who is like the #1 soldier in the academy, but he actually doesn't believe in what he's doing. And I imagine that they kind of team up and kind of work on this rebellion together. So that's really exciting, and it sounds just like the kind of book I would read. It was also when I was looking for comps for my book in my queries, I was like, okay, like what are some books that are similar to the one that I wrote with like a military theme, kind of more of a young adult dystopian audience. And this is one of the ones that popped up. I can't really use it though because it came out in 2015, so it's a little bit too old now to be a comp, but that's how I discovered it, and I'm really excited because this feels like a hidden gem. So without further ado, let's read An Ember in the Ashes. So I'm now a little bit more than 100 pages into An Ember in the Ashes, and here are my thoughts so far. This book had such a fast-paced opening. I really liked it. You're just instantly like swept into the action, you understand the world a little bit more, and you're introduced to the main character, Laia. And she basically just like witnesses these guard people come in, and they're called masks, and they're basically like kind of like super soldiers, and they have like these masks that are like melded into their faces, and they arrest her brother and they kill her grandparents, and she ends up escaping. And she's, well, kind of something I like about her character though is that she doesn't start off as this like brave hero. She's cowardly, she's scared, and she's real. So she's not gonna go and like try and fight these masks. She runs to protect herself, but then she's super guilty. She kind of like has these like visions of like these kind of like creature things telling her that like she's a coward and all of this, and so the guilt kind of consumes her, and she decides that she does need to do something to save her brother. So she ends up finding the resistance, which is like the rebellion in this kind of world, and she finds them and basically is like, I need to save my brother. It's because of you guys that like he was caught. And her parents were also like kind of like the leaders for this like rebellion resistance then that exists. And so she ends up being able to kind of infiltrate this military academy, and that's kind of like where this part kind of ends, and it just kind of follows along like who Laia is as a character and what are her goals, and then like how does she end up in the military academy, and she ends up there as a slave. I actually thought that she was going to end up as like a soldier or something, but no, she ends up being a slave to like the commandment, who is like the woman in charge. And so I thought that was a really interesting kind of dynamic, and like how she ends up getting there. There's also this character named Keenan who is with the resistance, and I don't trust him at all. Like he's there's something about him that I don't know, I just doesn't sit right with me. He definitely seems to be like a potential love interest, but I don't know. I think that there's something sketchy going on with this guy, and I don't know what though. And then we're introduced to our other main character, Elias, and he is a soldier, and he also happens to be like the son of the commandment, except that she hates him and she didn't want him. She actually left him to die as a baby, and he ended up getting saved by like a tribe that was there. So for like first couple of years of his life, he was raised by this tribe of people with like all of these like kind of foster siblings and stuff, until eventually he was kind of like scouted and taken to this area where he's trained to be a soldier at a very young age. And he is one of the few people whose masks have not melded into his face. And so I think that that's interesting, and like how the kind of magic to that is and how that works. And so we're introduced to him, we're introduced to kind of his crew of friends and his best friend Helen. And there definitely seems to be some kind of like romance hinted at towards those two. Right now they're like best friends, but there seems to be kind of like more, like sometimes he'll like stare at her or like look at her lips or stuff, or like she'll look at him. So there's some kind of like underlying romance between them. But what I think is really interesting about Helen's character is that she is the only woman soldier kind of within that year. They don't say like exactly why, but they're like, every once in a while there is a woman soldier, and that's just kind of the way of things. And so she's the only one, and she is really, really good. And so it's really interesting to see kind of like her and Elias's friendship, and then his friendship with other people, and like how he interacts. And then she, him, and like some other people are basically picked to do these trials, which is where the part is just about to kind of like start on. Because there's like 3 parts in this book. There was the first part that we just finished, and then the second part is called the trials. And so we're gonna see like what the trials entail. And then now that Laia is also now in the academy, I'm excited for the interaction between like Laia and Elias, because I think it is gonna be like a romance between them, but I don't know, because there's like these other characters like Keenan and Helen, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to continue to read An Ember in the Ashes, and I'll update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm definitely more than halfway through An Ember in the Ashes, and okay, I didn't expect, there's like this really cool kind of like magical, I don't even know what to call them, like ghost kind of things. There's like djinn and like all of these other kind of like spirity things that exist, and these things called the augurs, which are really, I don't even know how to describe them, except for like that they can kind of see the future, and they can also kind of like read your thoughts, and they're very like puppet mastery. They're really cool. So like with these augurs, they are basically, I think they're pretty immortal, or like they have a very long lifespan. They kind of showed up and they kind of kicked off the trials, and this one guy named like Kane was like, hey Elias, like you don't want to like desert just yet, like there's a path for you, a freedom path, like a path for freedom. And Elias is like, this guy can read my thoughts, he knows I wanted to desert, like what is going on? And so Elias ends up doing the trials, and these trials are basically these augurs that kind of showed up, and they're like, hey guys, your emperor is gonna die and you're gonna need a new one, so yeah, good luck, let's do some trials. And there's like 4 trials that they have to do, and they test different kind of aspects. And the first one was like fears. And so like Elias is like trying to face his fears. He's walking through this desert, he's got like no food, no water, nothing, and he just sees all of these dead bodies, people he's killed, people he hasn't killed, but are dead in this kind of like vision. And honestly, Elias kind of sucks at these trials, like not gonna lie. Elias, without Helen in these trials, would have failed like so quickly, because like he's just not very good at these trials at all. So Helen kind of comes in and saves the day and stuff, and actually really like that Helen's character is this like strong, interesting person who like definitely has some kind of secret that she's holding, like obviously not like that she's kind of interested in her best friend, but like a different secret that seems to be hinted at, where she isn't able to tell him, but it's kind of like mentioned a couple times, where she's like, I'm doing this because, and then like she kind of stops talking about it, and like all of this. So there's something going on with that, which I think is cool. And then there's also this one trial that I think revealed something really interesting about a character that we get to know, and that they end up having like a cool magical power. And I'm like, ooh, like this character can basically like Sinasan, and it can heal people like from life-threatening injuries. So I thought that was cool, and I'm really happy that they didn't just kill that character off like I thought they were going to, but they didn't, and they actually made this character even more interesting. So I'm excited to see where that's gonna go, and like it's just, yeah, it's really cool. Important to another slave. Like, this commanding person is absolutely disgusting and horrible and just so cruel, making her a really great villain because you just hate her. And I feel like if the author can somehow make like us humanize and relate with this character, I would be shocked, because this is just a horrible, horrible lady. She's so mean, and yeah, she's up to something. She's like talking with demons or something. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening, and like a lot of hidden stuff. Like, there's more than meets the eye to this story, and it's coming in little hints as the characters are trying to achieve their goals, which for Laia is to save her brother, and then for Elias is to just like not really, he doesn't want to lose himself. He doesn't want to lose his soul and do things that the Empire wants him to do. So they both have different goals, and we're getting little hints that there's way more that's being done in the background, and that these characters are pretty much pawns in that. And then the last thing is that I do not trust this resistance at all. Like, this one guy who's in charge, he's been in charge for a long time, I do not trust him at all. Like, I don't trust this Keenan guy. I don't trust this resistance leader guy. He's hiding something, and I don't know. I don't even know if Leia's brother is alive at this point, because this guy is not saying anything. He's so good at avoiding the questions, and Leia's too scared, and she's pretty gullible too, so she just believes him. And so when she's told like, hey, maybe ask this guy these questions, and she does, and the guy gives her the runaround, it's like, there's something going on. Oh, also there's a really cool character who creates swords. Like, his name is like Spiro. He's really cool. I want to see more of him. And then there was also this really fun scene at the Moonlight Festival, and there was a really cute dance scene with Laia and Elias, and I was just like, oh, that is adorable. Like, in another life, that would be so cute. Oh, so good. Yeah, I'm having a good time with this book. So yeah, that's where we're at so far. I'm having, like I mentioned, a really good time with this book. It's so fun, so easy to read, and the way that it's written is just like really easy to get into. It's not overly complicated. There's so much that the author is preparing us for, and the characters are different and unique, and I'm just really excited to see like where it's gonna go. So I'm gonna continue to read An Ember in the Ashes, and I'll update you when I finish this book. So I will see you then with my final thoughts. So I just finished An Ember in the Ashes, and this book was so much fun. I'm honestly shocked that I didn't even know about this book when it came out, because during that 2015 era when this book came out with like Red Queen, Divergent, Hunger Games, like Twilight, like all of these books that were really, really popular at that time, this one somehow escaped me, and I did not know that it existed. So I'm really happy that I kind of discovered it. Like, I'm just still shocked that I didn't know this. Younger me would have eaten this up, and older me has eaten this book up. This was so interesting, and there's more books according to the back, which is good, because there's no way that there's just one book. The way that it ended, there's way too much setup and secrets and stuff that we're waiting to hear back for. So yeah, I'm of course going to be getting the other books in the series, and it's so fun. I will say that I was a little bit disappointed about the lack of military academy that we actually did see. I was really hoping for a little bit more of that before the trials started. Like, what does the day-to-day look like? What is it like growing up in a military academy, especially as a kid? That kind of stuff. But I feel like it was more like this stuff had already happened to our characters, and so we're focusing more on other aspects like the trials and the slavery and like all of that other stuff. But I think I would have liked more military academy, because that was one of the reasons that I really wanted to read this book, because I wanted that kind of setting, which I think in like the Fourth Wind book, that's a really good setting for military kind of academy that I was expecting. So that was really the only disappointment though. Everything else I really enjoyed about this book. There are definitely parts, especially towards the end, that I was like, wait, did that character just die? Like, I was shocked. Yeah, and it happened a couple of times, and as somebody who reads a lot of books, you tend to see like, oh yeah, like this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. So it's a little bit harder to be surprised. But this book did manage to surprise me at a lot of different times. So I thought that that was really great, and I'm still thinking about those scenes. And there's just like some really cute small moments between the characters. I think that all the characters are really interesting and have their own strengths and their weaknesses. Even like the really big bad guys like Marcus and the Commandment, like these characters are not just, oh, I'm an evil big bad guy. It's like, I'm an evil big bad guy, but also I have some human aspects to me. Like Marcus did love his brother, and the Commandment did love, I'm not gonna spoil it, but that person did love somebody, even if it was just for like an hour. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of really cool things about all of the characters, and this book was honestly a breath of fresh air for me. The writing style, I really, really loved it so much. It was just like so easy to get into. The chapters were really short. The book knew what it wanted to be, where it wants to go, and it's obviously very well planned out. So yeah, and I love, it's so funny, I love the name Elias so much. I actually named my main male character in the novel that I wrote Elias very long time ago, and I have not seen that name anywhere else. And I'm just like, I love that name. I would love to name like a future child Elias. So it was really cool to be able to see a name that means a lot to me because of the character that I created named Elias. And yeah, I'm like, oh, this also is an Elias in like a military academy. That's really cute. Although it was a little bit hard at the beginning to try to separate the two characters, because I'm like, wait, Elias? No, not that Elias. This is a different Elias. So yeah, but I mean, that's just a me problem. So today we're going to be awarding An Ember in the Ashes a total of 4 stars. This is the first book that I've read in 2025, so that's pretty cool. It's already off to a great start, so I'll be ordering the rest of these books. And yeah, so stay tuned for me reading the entire series at some point this year as well. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Haro. And one of the reasons I really wanted to read this book is because I love Starlin House. I read that book a couple of years ago. The writing was so captivating. It was so kind of like gothic and cool and fun. And so I was like, what else has this author wrote? And so I added this to my Christmas wish list. And then this is one of the books that I got for Christmas alongside this one. So, you know, it's time to read those Christmas books that I got. So if you're interested in watching me read The 10,000 Doors of January or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, there's so many books coming out in 2025 that I'm so excited about. So yeah, if you're excited to read those, see me review those, watch somebody read these books, get book recommendations, all that good stuff, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.